humanly possible. It's been going on for a long time. The only difference now is it's overtly talking about what has probably been covertly going on. I mean, there's a confluence now happening to fill in the vacuum. Libya is prime territory for that because of how chaotic it is.
Putting a new twist on merger Monday, that was Zuhdi Jasser and the new report claiming that ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and the Muslim Brotherhood could all team up in Libya to further their terroristic agenda. Let's get one more check on the big board. We've actually made somewhat of a return here. Of course, Lauren McDonald's leading the way, all-day breakfast sort of taking off here.
It's a national thing. It's working for the company. Their quarterly same-store sales up almost 6%, and the stock put in a nice day as well.
And we've talked all morning, Ashley, on the other side of the story, Twitter. They need some help.
4 top executives booted late last night. Of course, Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, saying, well, they didn't get fired. They chose to leave. We know what happened. What does that do to the turnaround effort, though? There are many that say that can't make it any easier.
Outside of the market, the thing that I got the most tweets on this show were migrants wanting to leave Germany.
Yes.
A lot of people were saying, of course, go, listen, whatever. It's an amazing thing. People are it resonates all over the world, in America and over there. And that's one of the big things playing a big role in that political conversation as well. All right, guys, market hanging in there. It's not a rally, but I'm going to hand it over to Neil Cavuto. Anyway, Neil, take it away.
Where's Stewart?
Good question.
Somewhere warm.
We have video of him at a sandals resort. It's so weird. So I'm not buying it for a second. All right, thanks very, very much, Charles. Just kidding. Wherever you are watching this at any sandals resort nearby, Stewart, we're just joking. All right, in the meantime, we are not joking. We're 1 week away now from the Iowa caucuses. Can you believe that? All this buildup for the big caucus event. Never mind that the caucuses themselves are poorly telegraphed in polls. In fact, polls are rarely, if ever, right. In fact, over the last 25, 26 years, they've always been wrong. Very, very wrong. A lot of that has to do with the Byzantine nature, the way these caucuses are carried out. So does that mean that the presumed favorites in this race end up being that way on Monday night when Fox Business will be going wall-to-wall on this? Anyone's guess. Lisa Booth and Caitlin Dewey-Burns now on the history of Iowa. Surprising, folks. Well, the last 2 Republican contests are good examples of that, Lisa. We didn't see the final winners in polls that were being done just the day before. On the Democratic side, pretty much the same thing, although the Democratic winner tends to do better in the longer term than the Republican winners. But handicapping all that out, how do you see this going?
Well, Neil, and you're right. And historically, Iowa caucus goers have made up their minds, within just a few days of the Iowa caucuses. So that could potentially happen here. And I would say that this election cycle has been one of the more fluid and unpredictable elections or presidential election cycles in recent history. I mean, who would have thought Governor Scott Walker would have a quick rise and fall in the way that he did, or that Donald Trump would be leading the polls right now nationally. This has been an incredibly unpredictable election cycle, but the name of the game here and what is so important is evangelical Christians. Evangelical Christians make up about 60% of caucus goers, and if you look at 2008 and 2012, when Governor Mike Huckabee and Rick Santorum won, they won evangelical Christians by double digits. So that's going to be an important factor heading into the Iowa caucuses.
Yet we're told with some of these polls, Caitlin, those evangelical Christians who dominate the caucus activity in Iowa, they like Donald Trump. I mean, he would not come at first blush as a church-going favorite. That's not to disparage Donald Trump. I think he would say that as much. But here he is on top in these latest polls. What do you think?
Right, and that's why you saw Donald Trump actually attending church services over the weekend in Iowa, which is a first for him.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what was the first for him, staying at a motel.
Oh, right,
that
exactly.
Was the first. That showed he's very serious about going all the way here.
Exactly, if that doesn't tell you. But I do think in Iowa the race is really between Ted Cruz and Donald Trump at this point for that first or second spot. I think both campaigns really need to win Iowa. I mean, Trump's campaign is based on the idea of winning. Not winning would be a blow, although I do think he could continue on and do well in New Hampshire. And for Ted Cruz, I mean, he has been running a campaign really tailor-made for a state like Iowa, tapping into people, regular caucus goers, people who consistently turn out. And so I think that could make a difference this time.
You know, Lisa, it's interesting that Terry Brentster, the governor of that state, was not keen on Ted Cruz, really ripped him a new one. Then along comes the Des Moines Register with their respective picks, Hillary Clinton on the Democratic side, And lo and behold, Marco Rubio on the Republican side, the newspaper endorsements aren't quite what they were. The Manchester Union leader, for example, in New Hampshire, likes Chris Christie. He's polling in third or fourth, depending on what poll you buy. But what do you make of that phenomenon where the state, or at least the established part of the state, is saying no to Ted Cruz?
Well, look, what I think these endorsements do is it puts these respective candidates out in the forefront and introducing them to certain caucus goers or voters in the instance of New Hampshire that may not otherwise know much about them or learning new information. So it's important in that regard. But I think Iowa caucus goers will make their own decisions, and same as New Hampshire. You know, right now the name of the game is getting to that 1,236 delegates out of the 2,470 needed to win the nomination. And although Iowa only makes up about 1% of those delegates needed to win the nomination, what it does, especially right now when we have such an incredibly crowded Republican primary field, is it starts to weed out the candidates. And what's interesting is we'll likely see after Iowa candidates like Rick Santorum and Mike Huckabee, who won Iowa in 2008 and 2012, potentially leave the race as a result of the Iowa caucus. And same as New Hampshire. I think we'll see a weeding out in that establishment lane of someone like a Jeb Bush, a Kasich, or a Chris Christie potentially drop out of the field after New Hampshire. So what this is going to do is serve as a process of weeding out some of these candidates as we move forward in the nominating process.
Caitlin, I still don't see anyone having that 1,236 delegates by the time we get to Cleveland for the convention. Do you?
Right. It's hard to see at this